introduced adjectives in our first lesson, and here we're going to use adjectives in conversations using comparisons. The first thing we're going to do is questions and answers using adjective comparison. Questions and answers using adjective comparison. Number 1. Which country is dash? We want to use the adjective small. So, Monaco or Vatican City. So, if you want to ask this question correctly, you will say, which country is smaller, Monaco or Vatican City? So, smaller here is indicating that you are comparing two things, two countries in this case. So, person who wants to answer will now say Vatican City is smaller than Monaco. Okay, now let's look at question number 2. Which waterfall is dash? Niagara Falls or Angel Falls? Now we want to use the adjective high. So a good questioner will use the adjective high in the correct sense by saying, which waterfall is higher, Niagara Falls or Angel Falls? So the person who wants to answer will now say, Angel Falls is higher than Niagara Falls. So we can see that higher is used here because we are comparing two things, which are Niagara Falls and Angel Falls. So we use the comparative form of adjective high, which is higher. Number 3, we have which city is dash, Hong Kong or Cairo? So we want to use the adjective crowded. So which city is more crowded, Hong Kong or Cairo? So you can see more crowded is the comparative form of the adjective crowded. And so the answer should be Hong Kong is more crowded than Cairo. Now let's look at question number 4. Which lake is dash, the Caspian Sea or Lake Superior? So we want to use the adjective large. So the correct form of the question is, which lake is larger, the Caspian Sea or Lake Superior? And so the answer will be Caspian Sea is larger than Lake Superior. So again, we use the comparative form of the adjective, which is larger, comparing to seas or two water bodies, Caspian Sea and Superior Lake. Now number 5, which mountain is dash, Mount McKinley, Mount Everest or Fujiyama? So we want to use the adjective tall. So the correct form of the question becomes, which mountain is tallest, Mount McKinley, Mount Everest or Fujiyama? So we have 3 mountains here, and because we have 3 mountains, we are using the superlative form of the adjective, which is tallest. So which is tallest among the 3 mountains? And so we say Mount Everest is the tallest. Okay, number 6. What is dash river in the world, the Nile or Amazon? So we want to use the adjective long, the comparative form of the adjective long. So here we have two, we have two, we're talking about the longest the rivers in the world. So it is not just one river. There are many rivers in the world. So we cannot use the comparative form. We use the superlative form. So we have, what is the longest river in the world? What is the longest river in the world? The Nile or the Amazon? So we can see longest here is the superlative form of the adjective long. So Nile is the longest river in the world. Okay, number 7. Which country is dash with tourists? Spain, France, or Italy? Now, the adjective is popular. So the correct form of the question is, which country is most popular with tourists? Here we have 3 countries. So that is why we use the superlative form of the adjective popular. So we have most popular. So the answer should be France is the most popular with tourists. Okay, let's look at number 8. What is the dash ocean in the world? Again, we are talking about the world. The Pacific or the Atlantic? What is the dash ocean in the world? The Pacific or the Atlantic? Now, because we are talking about the world, we are interested in the world. We are not, so we have 2 options to choose from, but we are looking at the world. So we have to use the superlative. We have to use the superlative form of the adjective. So the question should be, what is the deepest ocean in the world? The Pacific or the Atlantic? Remember, here we have 2 options to choose from, but we're talking about the world. There are so many oceans in the world, so we just single out Pacific and the Atlantic. But then, because of the fact that we're talking about the world, we use the superlative form, which is deepest. So the Pacific is the deepest ocean in the world. Okay, now we go into dialogues using adjectives. Dialogues using adjectives. So we are going to look to study or to read the dialogue between Christy and her mom. Christy is talking with her mom, and we want to read the dialogue and extract the adjectives and see how the adjectives are used in the dialogue. So we have the first line. Mom, I just heard about the most fantastic store on the radio. What kind of store is it? What kind of store is it? It's a clothing store that sells the most incredible clothes in the world. Now, look at this conversation between Christy and her mom. So the first line, we identify the adjective, which is most fantastic. Mom, I just heard about the most fantastic store in the radio. So the mom says, what kind of store is it? Then Christy now says, it's a clothing store that sells the most incredible clothes in the world. So the adjective in the second line in the third line is most incredible. Okay, so now let's go to the next dialogue. The mom now says, I bet it's also the most expensive store in the world. I bet it's also the most expensive store in the world. No, it's not. It's not as expensive as all the other stores where I usually buy clothes. Now let's look at these 2 statements. We find out that we have most expensive. Okay, this is an adjective. Then for the Christie's response, we have as expensive as. Now, whenever you have the negative, you see, no, this is the negative. We normally use as. Okay, no, it's not. It's not as expensive as all the other stores where I usually buy clothes. So when you see negatives, you're likely to use as for the comparison. So this is a very, very exceptional case. Now let's look at the next line. Christy, you don't need any new clothes. Christy, you don't need any new clothes. Your dress is as good as any of your friends. You're one of the best dressed girls at school. Now, Christy responds, Mom, but Mom, I have that party this Friday. I can't wear any of my old clothes. I have to look better than ever. It's going to be the best party ever. Now you can now see how the adjectives appear in this conversation. The first one you have best dressed, best dressed, best dressed girls at school. Because of the fact that in the school you have a lot of girls, so we use best dressed because we're not just looking at two people. Now the next one is better than. So I have to look better than ever. So because of the than, because of that word than, then better always, when you use better, you always use it with than, better than this and better than you. Okay, now finally we have it's going to be the best party ever. Okay, so because of that, we have another superlative form of adjective, best party ever. Okay, now let's look at the other part of the conversation. And why is that? Now Christy responds, well, the greatest guy in the world is going to be there. Now the mom now goes on, go ask your father then. He might be more sympathetic than I am. Okay, so in this conversation, you see Christy saying the greatest guy in the world is going to be there. So he wants to impress the guy that will come. So the adjective greatest guy. Okay, so another adjective is in the mom statement, more sympathetic. So sympathetic is an adjective, and then the comparison here is more sympathetic. So the mom is comparing herself with the Christie's dad. Okay, so the rest of the conversation goes like this. I can't ask dad. He's the most stingy person in the world. Mom, you have to help me. So you can see here, Christy wants her mom to help her to ask the dad to get her that dress. Now, mom answers, okay, okay, we'll see. But for a start, you could be more helpful in the chores. What do we mean by chores? Chores is household activities, cooking, washing, all these are called chores. So the mom wants Christy to be more helpful to her so that she can help her to get her dad to give her money. So what are the adjectives? You have the most stingy, most stingy. See, this is superlative form of the adjective stingy. And again, another adjective is more helpful. So we have helpful as an adjective. Then I'll have the superlative form of that adjective as more. I mean, the comparative form of the adjective becomes more helpful. Helpful, more helpful, most helpful. Okay, so this is a typical conversation where adjectives appear severally in the conversation. So we can thank you for your attention, and I hope that you have learned how adjectives can be used in a conversation. Thank you.